Welcome back, everybody. From the moment that she was born, my next friend was destined for show business. Her father was the well-known BBC television director Barry Langford. Soon enough, however, Caroline would surpass her father's celebrity and take the acting world by storm. She was raised in England and Australia until the late 70s when she and her family, as a teenager, immigrated to Israel. Throughout her army service, she entertained the troops. Immediately following that, she co-hosted a television show with, guess who? Moi, with me, Mike Burstyn. It was actually the forerunner of, these American Idol type of shows, Kochav Nolad in Israel. It was called Ten Hisdamnut, Give a Chance. And it was one of the first shows of its kind on Israel television. It was an instant hit in Israel, and Caroline afterwards landed the starring role in highly successful film Smile, You've Been Had. Her successes continued in numerous films and TV shows, including The Delta Force, Snow White, and Big Gag, culminating in her receiving an Ophir Award, the Israeli Oscar for Best Actress. In time, she became Moshe Dayan's daughter-in-law and has since remarried and currently resides in sunny Los Angeles, California. And to her fans' delight, she regularly performs stand-up comedy in numerous clubs around the city, which actually I'm going to ask her about because we are now in August of 2020 in the middle of a pandemic that has circled the world. And I'm talking about my friend. Welcome to my chat room, Caroline Langford. Hi, my dear.
Hello, and it's lovely to be here, and the greatest part is I didn't have to drive and get stuck in traffic to see you.
Well, that's why I did this. I decided a few months ago, since we're all stuck at home, I mean, not stuck, I think it's a smart thing to do right now, and just to keep active and to be able to get together with all my friends around the world, which I cannot do physically. I said, why not start a chat, YouTube chat room? And I've done it with many friends, and I'm glad to have you on board. You're looking delightful and lovely. How's your finger, by the way? I know you had a little...
I have not gone out for 6 months because I don't know I think you might know, I'm a major germphobe. So, I like quarantined myself from day one. But a couple of weeks ago, I went, I'm just going to get into the car and drive. Well, obviously I wasn't meant to because the garage door got stuck and it didn't have a handle. So I went to pull it down, but stupid me put my fingers in the groove and pulled, and it crushed them. I'm extremely lucky, but I can tell you it was bloody agony.
Ooh.
And then I'm not going to emergency room. I don't want to get corona. But luckily, look.
Looks much better. I have a photo of what it looked like before.
Yes, it was not, it was not fun. And, as I say, I'm very lucky, that my husband heard me screaming and he came out. I thought I'd been there for, I don't know, ages, but he said all in all, it was probably 10 seconds or.
That's what husbands are for. We listen to our wives screaming.
Exactly.
Well, tell me, I was just talking about the latest, and Siona and I have watched you do your stand-up before this coronavirus started. What's happening now? Are you able to do it?
Well, we do shows on Zoom, and it's not quite the same. You don't get that adrenaline, the dopamine. You know what it's like when you go on stage and you do your first line and you get that first laugh, and it fuels you on, and you're not getting that. You're getting from a few people. So that part is hard, but it is better than nothing at all. Without it, I don't know. But the good part is you do end up writing a lot of material to do with being at home.
Yeah, well, it's given us the rare opportunity, not on purpose, to have the time we were always thinking of time as we have to do this and we have to do that and we have to look our schedule. But now most of what we have is time. And, so instead of wasting it, we're doing the right thing. And I guess this Zoom came in, just at the right time. And we're able to reach people around the world today
Yes.
in an instant that we couldn't do before. So, sometimes out of tragedy comes some positive things as well. So here we are.
Here
I
we are.
believe it's going to take a while, but we are using, and you are, and I am using our time, in a positive and a constructive way. Tell me a little bit about uh, the Caroline that grew up as a young girl with her father, Barry, may he rest in peace. Barry Langford uh, was my director on the show that I mentioned, and we had a wonderful time together. He was a great guy. And then I discovered my co-hostess, this young lady who came and was a great asset to the show. But tell me about your upbringing. For those who don't know you, so many Israelis know you from different aspects, but we'll get to that later. But growing up as a kid with Barry, how was that?
Phew. Yeah, my father definitely was a character. We moved probably every year, sometimes less. I was always the new girl in school, and we went to Australia twice. And of course, when we arrived in Australia the first time, I had an English accent, which was the kids made fun of me. When we went back a year and a half later, I had an Australian accent. And the kids made fun of me too, and backwards and forwards. Plus, wherever we lived, we were always moving every year somewhere else. I had lost count of the amount of schools I went to.
Sounds
And
familiar, Caroline. I had the same thing.
you know, the same. And
Sure.
believe it or not, I was a painfully shy child. I mean, I hid behind my mother's skirt, but I had to overcome that, as you can see today, because by the time I got round to making friends in school was the time that I had to say goodbye. And then when we immigrated to Israel, and that was with my mother and father and brother, I was devastated. I went, Israel, what? I didn't even know. I said, isn't that, I was 14. I said, isn't that a country from the Bible? I mean, I knew nothing. And now it was, not only did I have an accent, but they spoke another language. And in the early 70s, it wasn't, modern for the time, not like today. It wasn't up to date. And I hated it. I was miserable. I became a very rebellious teenager. And then eventually, Dad said, come and be on the show. And I hardly spoke Hebrew, right, Mike?
As opposed to now.
It was hardly, and now it's sort of. No, I really.
I know, but it didn't matter because we needed you for your beauty, not for your language.
And it's because of that show that actually my acting career kicked in, because from that show, I got a manager who arranged for me to sing, and it was to sing to soldiers in all sorts of bases around the country. I had a lot of fun. And one day he said that he's got a friend that is casting for a movie, for a small part, and I should go to the audition. Well, when I got there, it was candid camera, you see, and I was always a very mischievous kid. It was right up my alley. And because I wasn't like I want to be an actress and all nervous, I said to the director, Yudivar Khan, hey, I've got an idea. What if I go blah, blah, blah? End of that was he sent all the girls home. And then not only did I get the small part, but they wrote it for the lead part. And then that movie was a #1 hit, so the rest is history.
Well,
Just
you know, life is full of surprises, and some things are just meant to be. And so I have, I can say that I have a little part in your having gone on to become a successful performer. Do I get 10% as a commission
well, as you know,
of
what
your
they,
life? Or
I'm saying, as you know, what they paid back then. I mean, it might buy you a
yes, what we paid them,
break.
we paid them.
Yes, yes.
So,
It's true.
and so your life got a little easier once you, you know, were, you know, it's, I can tell you that from my point of view, I came to Israel as an American kid, and I was 8 years old. And at that time, the kids were very nasty
Yeah.
in Israel to anyone who came from another country because they were all sabras. They were very proud, and they were, you know, a group together. And when you came as a kid, all of a sudden from a different culture, they didn't accept you, and they gave me a lot of trouble as well. The difference was the time that I really was accepted completely as one of us, Echad Mishelanu, was after I served in the Six-Day War. That changed everything.
And also because you went there at 8, 14 is a very
Oh yeah,
hard age. And the thing is, Israelis don't seem to know the difference between English and American. They just presume if you're speaking English, you're American. I mean, that's back then. And it seems there was a girl, an American girl in the school I went to before me, who had, shall we say, not a good reputation. And along I came, and I was this 14-year-old. I was so immature. I was like a 10-year-old. And they were saying names to me that I had to go and ask my parents, what do those words mean? And they were in English. Um, I was very, very naive and innocent, but they just presumed if she behaved in that way, well, then obviously I am too.
kids, look, kids can be very cruel. Uh,
After that, though, I convinced my parents to send me to the American school.
in Kfar Shmarial.
At the time, it was in Fashmarial, and that was worse. There were more bullies there. There were really horrible kids there to me. So
Wow.
I was not a happy camper. I'll tell you when I started to love Israel was when I was 18. I said, that's it, I'm leaving. And off I went to London. And I spent about a year and a half in England and fell in love. And guess what? He was an Israeli. And that's why we came back, because Dad said, come back. I'm doing this show and you're going to be in it. And I came back to Israel. And then Israel for me became something else entirely, you see?
Well, you know, so many Israelis today, you know, when I mention your name, of course they know your name from both from your professional life and ultimately at some point, as I mentioned in the introduction, you married Asi Dayan, who was Moshe Dayan's son. And naturally, when you say the word Dayan in Israel, Moshe Dayan, immediately you're on the front pages of every gossip column. And how did how did that affect you?
It was not easy. I remember a time I was filming a movie in South Africa, and once a week, the Israeli LL would come and I'd get the newspapers and magazines. And I'm looking through a woman's magazine and I see that it says that I'm having an affair with a person that I've never even met, you know? And I ring them up and I say, how can you print this? I don't even know, I've never met this person. And, they just went, oh, sorry, it was the wrong, wasn't meant to be you. Back in those days, today, forget it, I'd sue the hell out of them. But back then you didn't. But there was always something about, that every newspaper had one journalist whose whole job was to write about the Diane family. So they had to have things written. And Assie and I, of course, there was always things to write about.
How did you meet?
I met, so it's the classic director actress. I did a movie for it. It was my second movie. And there we fell in love.
What was it called? What movie was it?
It was called King for a Day, Melech Yom Echad.
Yeah.
And I spoke Hebrew in it.
Is that the one you won the award?
Yes. It was back then. It was called Kino David.
Kino David. I know. I have two of them. Yeah.
I don't even have mine because of all my moves. I put it at my father's place.
Oh.
And then one day, years later, I said, "Hey, Dad, can I get that award?" What award? Well, it turned out that he'd used it as a door stopper.
Yeah, I know.
The dogs had chewed it up, so he threw it away.
I'll take a picture of mine and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we'll just etch my name on it, right?
And so you and Asi, how long were you together?
Oh gosh, officially married just like 4 years, but 8 years of on and off. We kept going back together.
And you have your delightful son that you're so proud of.
Oh yes, my lovely Leo. And it is a dynasty. It's not easy. For Assi, it was never easy. Even though he was incredibly talented and brilliant,
yeah.
he still always had that chip on his shoulder, being the son of. It's never an easy thing. And I think ultimately that's what destroyed him.
Right, yeah, I agree. He was such a, when you watch some of his films now, he was a pioneer in the modern Israeli cinema. I mean, before that, we had all the popular movies, obviously, but Asi was a talent, a writer, a director, and it was one of those Greek tragedies, unfortunately. But what's your son doing now?
Oh, he's writing. First of all, he's been writing for years. He has a column in the Maariv newspaper, but he has finished. He's already on season 2 of a TV series for Hot, which I'm in. He wrote me a part, which is very, very nice son.
That was nice of him, yes.
Very nice. He knows what's the best present I can give Mum. Yeah. And it's due, it will be out in a few months. Basically, on his life, it's fictitious, but of course, it's a story of a young guy who gets involved in drugs and then ends up in a psychiatric hospital with a famous father and a mother who lives abroad. So
sounds familiar.
A little bit familiar, yeah. So I was sort of because I played the mum, so I was kind of playing myself, but it wasn't quite me because it was written through his eyes of how he sees me or how he saw me.
Those are really the truest shows to watch because it's not, in Hebrew we say metzutzma and etzba. It's not just invented out of thin air. It's telling true stories and
well, I say writers should write what they know. Apart from like science fiction things like that, but generally you write what you know.
It takes courage. It takes courage to do that.
It does, and I've been told by many people what a brilliant writer he is too. I can't even read it with my Hebrew.
It's in the genes.
Yes.
I know you as an actress. I know you as a singer. You're a delightful performer. What brought you to stand-up comedy?
Well, a few years ago, I got to a certain age where I said, screw this. I'm at a stage where I don't care. And when you don't care what people think of you, like you do when you're younger. And when you get that, I've always been comedic. I've always done comedic parts, and I thought I'm going to try stand up, and I found that I love doing it, and it comes to me all the time. So I just go out, and it's great. I get to stand on stage and ramble on and say what I want to say, and I enjoy it very much. I mean, I'm still doing acting, and uh, I love acting. I love characters and all that. But I also, as you know, Mike, we do all sorts of things, right?
I'm always looking for a new challenge. You know,
Exactly.
not it's easy to keep doing the same thing over and over again. But at some point, been there, done that. I want to try something else. I was very lucky 3 years ago. I've been waiting for this for many, many decades because I never thought I was mature enough to direct my first feature film.
That's right, and I've seen it, and it's amazing.
Thank you. So, it was another challenge that I hadn't done before. I mean, I was involved in the film industry. I mean, we were some of the pioneers of the Israeli film industry back in the 60s when I started. Kuni Lemo, I'm still, well, after all these years, no matter
You'll
what,
always be.
I'll always be Kuni Lemo.
Just like I'll always be, it doesn't matter how many husbands I have, I'll always be Auntie Diane's wife. Realize that.
Yeah, but you have a husband now in Gil.
Oh,
You,
it's wonderful.
you are both very, very fortunate and blessed, both of you.
Yes. And 20 years together. I mean,
Really? Wow.
husband number one was, 4+. Husband number two, 4 years. And I thought, well, that's it. And this is coming up to 20 years. And, I do feel blessed.
He's a great guy,
Wonderful.
really great guy. And it was just, again, meant to be. You can't invent these things. It either works or it doesn't. But I was, very, very fortunate with that first directorial debut, Azimuth, my film about the Six-Day War. And I'm always looking for a new challenge. But, it takes a lot of guts to stand up there without a guitar or without musical backing and decide that it's just me standing there in front of an audience and look at me and have to make you laugh. That's a pretty gutsy thing to do. Did you have a plan? Did you have a
Well,
certain style that you were looking to do, or you
I
just
in
wanted to be
the
yourself?
beginning, it was more, observational stuff, and then slowly it evolved. Also, I saw what works, what doesn't work, and also what is very difficult today is the oversensitivity of everyone in this society. So much we can't say anymore. Like, it's perfectly fine to talk about your parts of your body, no problem there. But you can't. There's a zillion things that you now can't talk about that's politically incorrect, which is a shame because we should be able to laugh at everyone and at ourselves, and so. But I do tend to do mostly on myself, and being a narcissist, well, it's quite easy.
What have you got coming up?
Well, what I've also started to do is, and in fact, I'm just today putting them all on YouTube. I'm doing a character. My alter ego, shall I say, is the number one therapist on the planet, meaning no one's better than her. And on Zoom, just like we're doing right now, I have people come on and I heal them with amazing advice. And they're short, 3-minute clips. And a couple of them, I'm actually being the other person, the patient. In fact, I just filmed one yesterday where I was a guy.
Where can we see it?
I'm going to be putting it up on YouTube, and it's called The Number One Therapist on the Planet.
The number one therapist on the planet, folks.
Yes.
So,
Um,
that's
and
what we have to look for on
yeah,
YouTube.
and this one is not, and these are not politically correct. So yes, it is over 18. Is it filthy sometimes? And is it politically correct? Probably not. But
That's interesting. Does YouTube censor language? I didn't know.
no, there's no bad language. There's no
Oh,
swearing.
okay, okay.
And by the way, in the clubs, all they do is swear. I don't. I never swear. I mean, at home I might, but I don't ever in performance. And my taboo subjects are nothing compared to some. You have to become very open-minded when you're doing stand-up, hearing the other comedians, especially the young ones. It's usually about their private parts, and I often want to go. We know you do have one. you know, um, you have one like everyone else. But hey, if that's what you want to talk about. No, no, no. What I mean is, I cover subjects in this therapist videos that probably would be considered taboo.
That's okay.
I don't. I'm loving it. If it makes me laugh, then what the hell?
Absolutely. So it's going to
Yeah.
be the world's,
No, the number one therapist on the planet.
the number one therapist on the planet. I'll put that up when I edit this. And so we'll all be watching it. Will it be on a regular basis?
Yes, I mean, I've got 5 done, and I have 5 put up, but I will keep doing them. And the beauty is that I can do them because I'm doing them from home, and I've done them with people that are in England, in Europe. It doesn't matter where they are because of
Yeah.
Zoom.
They don't have to be on a couch.
No, they don't, and that's great fun. So I send them a script, and then we improvise a little, and.
Well, it's delightful to be able to sit with you like this. That's the whole idea of what I wanted to accomplish. I have, so many good friends now that have agreed to come and just chat like this because, that's the only thing we can do now is communicate, and it's just a joy. Now I'm going to ask you the question I ask my friends at the end of our chats, and that is for you to tell me, if I ask you who was the one individual that inspired your life, could you tell me who that might be?
I don't know if there was anyone that inspired my life. I think that I just lived it, and I mean, were individuals.
Well, one or two or someone.
As a singer, it was, for me back then, in my youth, it was Joan Baez. She was the most amazing singer and person as well. But I would say in life, people that have inspired me have been people that I've known personally, not particularly, someone well known. As a child, I'd watched Carol Burnett, the comedian, and I, as a child, I wanted to be like her. But I'm not sure that followed through in the years. I adored Betty Davis as an actress, but no, I think that I just sort of, I'll tell you, this is going to sound, I'll tell you what inspires me.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Yes, what inspires me is animals. I spend a lot, I'm a crazy animal lover. I'm with my dogs now 24 hours a day. And I watch them constantly, and I am inspired by them, that they can sit for hours and look at a leaf falling off a tree and thinking that's wonderful, and not, they can walk by and pass the wind and not care. I want to be like them in my next life. I might have been earlier, In my previous life, I might have been a poodle, but I'd like to come back as a dog, but only if that dog is owned by someone like me. You know, it could be a bad hope. But I just think that because they don't have, they couldn't care less what color we are, what religion, what race. They don't even care if we take a shower, you know. And I think in many ways they are superior to us. We might have a bit bigger brain, but we're not using it very well. That's how I feel.
Which brings me to a great segue you just gave me, because I want to remind you and actually tell our viewers, whoever's watching us, that Caroline and I, a little while ago, wrote a new TV sitcom, a comedy series that we are still trying to pitch to anyone out there who might be watching and interested. Caroline, and this is based on Caroline's true life story, when she came to the United States for the first time, to New York, she became a dog walker. Tell us a little bit about that, because we have written a comedy, and we're hopefully, I'm still working on it, called Shit Happens and We Pick It Up. And it is about the experiences of a young woman coming to New York based on Caroline's true life experiences, who out of lack of income, reads an article, an ad in a newspaper, and becomes a New York City dog walker. And it is hilarious. And for all you lovers of animals, Caroline, tell us a little bit about that. How
Well,
did
talk
that happen?
about being plunged. I mean, I left Israel because there was when I got divorced, there was a lot of noise going on. It was time to leave, and I went off to New York, and I needed to do something. And so, and I've always loved animals. I see an ad for dog walking, and I think, okay, I can walk. I can walk, and it's with dogs. And I found myself in blizzards all of a sudden after Israel in Central Park, and very eccentric owners. I mean, these dogs were their kids. They didn't have kids. These were their kids. Um, and I learned a lot in that time walking people's dogs. A lot of different, very colorful characters and wonderful dogs. And I learned to get my way around the city. I became a New Yorker very quickly through dog walking.
Well, anyone out there who may have the possibility of moving this forward, we're looking for a producer or a showrunner. Just get in touch with either me or Caroline, and we'll be happy to. It's all ready to go, and we'll be happy to send you a copy.
It's a great script. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah, and it's called Shit Happens and We Pick It Up. And on that note,
On that note,
I'm going to leave you with my motto, Caroline, and I know you do it anyway. Carpe diem. Seize the day, folks, especially in these trying times. Thank you, Caroline. Thank all of my friends who are watching us, and we'll see you next time. Shalom.